Hey everyone, Gerard here with another video on taxation. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what to include and what to exclude in the gross estate of a dissident. So estate tax is a tax on the right of a deceased person to transmit the estate to heirs and beneficiaries at the time of death and on certain transfers. It's essential to determine the gross estate as this is a key component in computing estate tax due. In the computation of estate tax due under trainlaw, the net estate is multiplied to 6% estate tax rate, but in order to arrive at the net estate, the gross estate should be first determined. You can watch my other estate tax videos right here where you can learn more about it. So for example, a dissident died in February 2018. The gross estate was 45 million. The allowable deductions totaled to 25 million. How much is the estate tax due? It would be 1,200,000 computed as 45 million gross estate less the allowable deductions. The net estate would be 20 million. The net estate will be multiplied to 6% estate tax rate. Note that the dissident died in 2018, which means that train law would be applicable. In order to determine the correct gross estate, it's important to consider the residency and citizenship of the dissident. If the dissident is a resident citizen or resident alien, the following will be included as part of the gross estate. The first one is real or immovable property, wherever located, such as parcel of land, building, or a house. The second would be tangible personal property, wherever located. Lastly, intangible personal property like investment in stock, bonds, crypto, NFT, etc., also wherever located. Conversely, for non-resident or non-citizens, the following would be included: real or immovable property within the Philippines, tangible personal property located in the Philippines, and lastly, intangible personal property with a situs or where that particular intangible asset can be used or exercised in the Philippines. For example, a resident citizen died in 2018. The following are things owned by the dissident with the following market values at the time of death. Based on the following properties left by the dissident, how much would be the gross estate? For resident citizens and resident alien dissidents, all properties located within and outside of the Philippines will form part of the gross estate. Therefore, all of the properties shall be deemed part of the gross estate. On the other hand, if the dissident is classified as non-resident, only the properties located in the Philippines shall be included. Now let's go to the second thing, which is what about the properties excluded from the gross estate? Now, being excluded from the gross estate means that it won't be subject to estate tax. So the following are excluded from the gross estate. The first one is GSIS proceeds or benefits, such as when the dissident worked for the government, or accruals from SSS if the dissident is from the private sector. Next would be proceeds of life insurance where the beneficiary is irrevocably appointed. In order for the life insurance to be excluded, the heir or beneficiary should be expressly stipulated to be irrevocable. So for example, Mrs. X, dissident, stipulated that her daughter is the irrevocable beneficiary of life insurance. Will the insurance be included or excluded in Mrs. X's gross estate? The answer will be excluded as being expressly stipulated that the irrevocable beneficiary of the insurance policy would be her daughter. Consequently, if the beneficiary of the proceeds is the estate, executor, or administrator, the proceeds shall be included in the gross estate. Next is proceeds of life insurance under a group insurance taken by the employer. Another exclusion are war damage payments. War damage payments or repatriations are compensation made after a war by one side to the other. Next would be transfer by way of bona fide sales, thus the ownership of the property has already passed from the dissident to the buyer, so it should be excluded. Transfers to the national government or to any of its political subdivisions. Next is if the decedent is married, exclude the separate property of the surviving spouse. Next is the merger of usufruct and the owner of the naked title. To understand this better, let's have an example. Mr. A, decedent, in his will assigned the use or usufruct of a parcel of land to his son, Mr. B, while the intended owner to his granddaughter, Miss C. If Mr. B died, will the parcel of land be included in the gross estate of Mr. B? The answer would be no, because Mr. B was only granted usufruct of the parcel of land by the will of A. Upon the death of Mr. B, there will be a merge of usufruct in the owner of the naked title, which is Miss C. Next would be properties held in trust are not owned by the decedent, therefore should be excluded from the gross estate. And then lastly, acquisition and or transfers expressly declared as not taxable. To understand more the exclusions in the gross estate, let's have this illustration. A married resident citizen died in 2018. The following are items in relation to computing gross estate by the decedent in their respective market values at the time of death. How much is the gross estate? So in computing, and for this illustration's sake, cash in bank is exclusive ownership of the decedent. For the conjugal house and lot, remove the share of the surviving spouse, which is 4.5 million. Include the automobile being exclusive property, 1.5 million. Exclude the GSIS proceeds of 1 million and the proceeds of life insurance because the spouse is the irrevocable beneficiary. Exclude also the fish pond as this is held in trust by the decedent. Lastly, include the shares of stock listed in the Philippines, which is 500,000, and because the decedent is a resident citizen, add the US shares of stock as well. Therefore, the gross estate will be 7.3 million. And that's it. So let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions, post them in the comment section. And if you found this video very helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And you can also watch my other videos related to estate tax. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because it helps me create more videos like this. So I'll talk to you in the next one.